Hi there guys, welcome to my new channel, Chris Whaley at Decisive Coaching. This mini series, this playlist is going to be dedicated to back to basics, the very basic principles that I learned many years ago that helped me go from where I was with a not such productive life, I was addicted perhaps to certain drugs and substances and alcohol and porn and various other different things. How did I turn my life around? And it's ultimately when I found and discovered that there are these certain fundamental foundational principles of human society based on psychology and religion and philosophy and metaphysics that really affect all aspects of our life and quite often are the determining factors of whether we succeed or we don't succeed. So I wanted to share perhaps one of these particular foundational principles with you guys that really impacted my own life, and it's a place that if we always refer back to when we're feeling perhaps a little bit stuck in life, I still refer back to this and read and watch certain stuff that I know can trigger me and get me back on track. So the one I want to talk to you about, maybe you're familiar with this, maybe you're not. Even if you are familiar, you might not be familiar on a deep enough level to really have it affect your life and your understanding and your level of thinking, because ultimately this video really is all about positive thinking. And how does positive thinking, how does it really impact our life, and how does it manifest into stuff, things, more money, better relationships with people, and better health and better physical wellness. So cause and effect then. So cause and effect, through all of the really simmering it right down and funneling it right down, it basically means that our thoughts are causes, and of course conditions are the effects of our life. So most people believe falsely that their situation, their quality of life is determined by factors outside of themselves. Now, to a degree, there is some truth to that. It does affect the way that we feel quite often. What's going on maybe in politics over the last few years with certain things and events that's been happening, it most certainly does impact the way that we feel, for sure. But does it actually determine, so external factors, does it actually determine the quality of our relationships, our health, and the amount of money that we have? It influences it at best, for sure, but it's not a determining factor, because we know that we could have two people that are given the same opportunities and the same resources, and they will have completely different outcomes. One person will make it work for them and use it in the right ways, and the other person can have the complete opposite outcome. So what's the difference? What's the defining factor between the two? That's what I wanted to share with you. So this really is the back to basics. If you're in the beginning stages of you wanting to maybe shift your life in a completely different direction from where you have been, then it's a good place to start really applying and understanding and applying some of these real basic principles, these laws of our universe, if you like. Just like gravity, we have lots more laws that if we align ourselves with them by understanding them and applying them, we can have it really have it affect our life in a positive way. It actually works the opposite way as well, which is maybe why you're here watching this video. Because if we use the cause and effect in the other way around, it's like karma. There will always be something that comes back directly or indirectly. So it's not woo-woo thinking and hoping for the best and a life of hope and chance. It really is quite often it's predictable. Unknowingly it can be predictable. They say that our life really is a self-fulfilling prophecy. This kind of helps to understand that as well. So I'm going to share my screen and just share a little model that can be handy for so many people to really get a grips of understanding what this actually is, what this represents. So what I'm sharing here is a basic model that we use for training and understanding, helping people to understand how, what makes the difference between two people that succeed and another person that fails, that are given the same opportunities, same resources. So obviously we've got a human head here with the brains and the cogs going on inside, and these arrows pointing towards the head ultimately really just represents information and stimulus, things outside of ourselves that are happening, whether it be directly at us, to us, for us, or that we look for and we actually go out and seek. So anything that's happening outside. So we have at the top visual, obviously a little picture of an eye there, and an ear is auditory. So we've got visual, auditory. The hand represents kinesthetic. Kinesthetic really just is a complex word for feeling, touching, sensation through your skin. So that's another way that we experience the outside world. So these are all ways that we experience the outside world, through visuals, through like pictures and images and video thumbnails and reality that's happening right now. Auditory, through sounds and tonalities. We got kinesthetic, which is touchy-feely. We have olfactory and gustatory. Olfactory basically means through smell, and gustatory means through taste. So these are all the ways that we experience the external world. These are the main mediums of information that allow information to get into this big lump of grey matter called our brain in here. So now that information comes into our senses, and then it goes through this system, this what we call like filters. They run through these filters, and it creates our internal representation. So what this information here ends up becoming our own personal perception of that information, our own personal individual representation. It goes through these set of filters. I'm going to explain these. So we all have our own personal identity because of what's happened to us and our environment that we've been brought up in, the people around us, etc., that of course helped us to develop our values of what's important for us is not always important for another human being. So we all have our own individual values. Okay, so our values is basically what is it that's important to us? What do we put to the top of our list over and above it, other things? Obviously it's context dependent. Different areas of our life will have different values. Then of course we have beliefs. Our beliefs are all kinds of, we have lots of different beliefs about ourselves, the world around us, maybe our health. What are our beliefs when it comes to our health and the medical system and our own self ability to heal maybe? Or do we need external sources that help us to heal? Beliefs around money, these limiting beliefs we call them. Beliefs, statements that we say in our own head about what we can do and what we can't do. I'm not good enough, and I'm not attractive enough, and I'm too overweight, and I'm too underweight, and various different things. They're limiting beliefs. Or I'm no good at this, so I'm not going to try that. So that gets us to make certain decisions. Our decisions, ultimately, decisions around what things mean, how we make decisions in our own head, the memories that we have of all of the things that we've experienced in our story, in our past, the language that we use in our own mind. So this is all a big set of filters. This information that's coming in here goes through our own personal set of filters. Meta programs, there's lots of components in the meta programs that are all individual to each human being, but to simplify it, I would say the meta programs really, if you boiled it all down, is our own personal motivator. And quite often it will be in sort of two different directions. One person will be motivated to try and avoid, so they make decisions based on trying to avoid pain. Other people will be making decisions and taking actions, etc., based on wanting to experience pleasure. So it's like the carrot and stick. Most people have heard that that saying to reference motivation is some people, they work under pressure better rather than having a goal to go towards. So it's everyone's different, but usually one of two motivators, our primal motivators. Are we going to do things and make more effort because of the consequence of pain if we don't, or do we make decisions and do things and get motivated because of the pleasure that we'll experience when we get it? Then of course we have our mood. In any one moment we can be in different moods, can't we? So if we're in one sort of mood and the information that's coming in, like the same information coming in one day, you're in one mood, it's going to be interpreted, and in your internal representation of that information is going to be different than maybe another day where you're in a slightly different mood. So that can have a massive impact on that time, where you are and the location, etc., and the contexts of wherever it is that you are. And then of course you got to the part that deletes, distorts and generalizes. So this sort of applies to the whole, like the Chinese whisper thing, is where information gets passed on to one person. So you tell somebody one thing and then it goes through 3 or 4 or 5 people. You'll be amazed at how the story and the information gets changed by the time it gets to its final destination. It's massive. There's an exercise that we've done with groups of people where you will get them to do a set of actions while nobody else is looking, and then they pass that on to one person, and then it gets passed on to another person, and all you're having to do really is copy exactly what the previous person has shown you what you need to do, and you'll be amazed. It can go from sitting on a make-believe motorbike and revving it up to skipping around and doing acrobats by the time it gets down line to about 6 or 7 people. It's amazing. So that's why information can get passed on from you. When it eventually gets to its final destination, it's a completely different story. That's why it happens. Because everybody has a different identity, they have different values, they have different beliefs, they make decisions differently, they have different memories, they have a different story, they have a different type of language inside how they communicate with themselves. They got different fear and away from and towards motivators that they use, their mood. That's why the information, when it gets passed from one person to another, how it can change drastically. So anyway, so once this information here has gone through our filters, it finds its way to creating our state. So information coming in goes through our filters. We decide what it means to us, gives us our internal representation that gets us to feel a certain way. So this is thoughts, so information, thoughts, feelings, actions leads to the results of our life. So we can have the same information go into 2 people's senses. Exactly the same information can go into 2 people's set of filters. One person will have maybe done a little bit of work on themselves, which is really what this video and my series of videos and my channel is really all about, is to work out your own personal identity, not what the world has wanted you to be. Your earlier life has wanted you to have a certain identity, really just to keep you safe and maybe survive your environment, and to get your values and to get your needs met. That's got you to have a certain set of values that may well be slightly somewhat out of sync with reality. You may well have some beliefs that are holding you back, because beliefs are extremely powerful. If you have a belief, a deep-rooted belief inside of you that you're not able to do something, and that one thing could be holding you back, just imagine how that could be holding you back from achieving what it is that you want to achieve. So one person can have all of these maybe upgraded to more less restrictive filters, and they will be more honest, and they will be more congruent with themselves and other people. Okay, so they won't generalize it as much, they won't distort it, and they won't delete anything. They'll tell the truth, which will give them a sense of at peace, a more excited, more empowered state in any one moment. So when I talk about state, I've done a video. I'll probably, I will most certainly put it in the link underneath this video, that explains just that section there, all on its own. What is it that creates a state in any one moment? Okay, the meaning that we attach to whatever it is that we're focusing on, this is the focus, this is the meaning, this is the physiology that creates our state in any one moment. So two people have the same information coming in, they can have a different outlook and set of beliefs and values about the world that can create two different states, an empowering state or maybe a disempowered state. We will have different behaviors which will lead to different results. That's how our thinking, how that affects the results of our life. I do hope that you found some value in this. This really is back to basics, and I hope that you enjoyed that. And if you did enjoy that, subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you and having you watch some more of my back to basics